Okay, so today we're going to be factoring, but you're going to be able to identify perfect cubes in order to factor using the sum and difference of cubes formula. Before we talk about sum and difference of cubes, let's remember what we already know about factoring. If I asked you to factor this equation or this function, the first thing that you would do is you would look for something that all parts have in common. So you would look for a GCD, a greatest common divisor, the biggest thing that could divide out of all of your pieces. Well, I noticed that all of my pieces have an X. So I'm going to take the X out, and then I'm going to divide to figure out what's left over. So 2x cubed divided by x is 2x squared. X squared divided by x is x, so we keep minus x. Negative 6x divided by x is negative 6. Okay, so we looked for something they all had in common. Now we have, these pieces left over. Those we can divide more, or we can factor more. So remember, we take a and c, 2 and negative 6, and we multiply. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. So I need two numbers that will multiply to negative 12, and those same two numbers need to add to be negative 1. Well, the two numbers that will multiply to negative 12 and add to 1 are negative 4 and positive 3. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1, so it works. So I now know that we put those in parentheses with x and then minus 4, x and plus 3. Okay, now I'm not finished until I go back and I take the a and divide by a. So divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so x minus 2. But 3 doesn't divide by 2, so we take the 2 and we kick it back in front. 2x plus 3. Also, don't forget this GCD you took out needs to come back in front. So you know how to factor something like that. But if I gave you something like you really can only do this stuff, this T-chart, if you have an x squared. So everything we look at today is x cubed, x4, x3, x5, right? So I started out with an x cubed, but I could take an x out of everything. You can only use this T-chart, this multiply add chart, if you have an x squared that you're trying to factor, okay? So when we have something bigger, we need another way to break it down, another way to factor it. So today we're going to look at what if you have a sum or a difference, so you're adding or subtracting two perfect cubes. So what are perfect cubes? 8. 8 is a perfect cube because the cubed root of 8, so not the square root, the cubed root means you need 3 of them. The cubed root of 8 is 2 because 8 will break down into 2 times 2 times 2. So before, when we did perfect squares, we needed something that we could multiply by the same number twice, right? A perfect cube, you need 3. So the cubed root of 8 is 2. Okay? The cubed root of, let's take 27, is 3. Because 27 can be broken down into 3 times 3 times 3. So if you could break it down into multiples of the same number 3 times, then it's a perfect cube. The cubed root of 64. So 64 is a perfect cube because the cubed root of 64 is 4. Because 64, you can find 4 times 4 times 4. Okay, so that's what a cubed root is. So you can use today's factoring method if you have addition or subtraction of two perfect cube pieces. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Step 1. You're always going to look for a GCD. Something that can be divided out of all of your parts. Well, in this one, I only have x cubed and 8. they don't have anything in common, so I can skip that step. Okay? Step 2. You're going to rewrite as something cubed. All of your parts. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite. X cubed is already written as something cubed, so it's good. But 8, the cubed root of 8 is 2. So I'm going to rewrite 8 as 2 cubed. Because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So I didn't change anything. I just made it look different. Okay? Step 3. I need to get this now to look like this. So there is a formula that we can use, but that is real messy looking and kind of confusing to me. So instead we can use an acronym called SOFAs, like the sofa you sit on. SOFAs. SOFAs. Okay. The first thing you do, the S, we're going to square the first term. Our first term is x cubed. So, oh, sorry. Before you use sofas, we're missing a piece. Your first, so we're going to break it down into two. If you notice, we're going to break it down into 2 sets of parentheses, right? Our first set of parentheses is always just going to be the pieces you have here, drop the cubes, so x plus 2. Okay, now you need sofas to come up with the next set of parentheses, okay? So we're going to take the first term, that's x, and we're going to square it, x squared, okay? Then the O stands for opposite sign. I have a plus sign, so it's going to become minus. The F is first times the last. So we're going to take the x, it's the first term, and the 2, the last term, we're going to multiply. X times 2 is 2x. That's our next term. The A stands for always add. So always add. And the S is you're going to square the last term. So our last term, the 2 squared is 4. Okay, so I've just taken my perfect cube and I've made it look like this formula here using sofas. And that's my answer. That's how you factor it. Okay? Okay, next. Technically, we could take this and we could try to factor the inside of it more because now it's an x squared. But the ones you see today won't be able to factor further. All right. Step 2, 5x to the 4th plus 40x. So remember our question 2, our first step is always see if there is a greatest common divisor, something that would divide out of both parts. I noticed both parts share a 5 and an x. So if I take the 5x out, what do I have left? 5 divided by 5 is 1. X4 divided by x is x3. Plus 40 divided by 5 is 8. X divided by x, there's no x's left. Okay, now the 5x is just going to hang out and eventually end up in our answer. But this 1x cubed plus 8, that can be factored more because it's 2 perfect cubes being added together. So step 2, we're going to rewrite as something cubed, right? Okay, now we're going to get rid of this 1 though because it's not necessary. So it's just x cubed plus 8. So the x cubed is already written as something cubed. The 8 we need to write as 2 cubed because 2 cubed is equal to 8. Okay, so then we're going to drop the cubes to build our first set of parentheses, so x plus 2. Our second set of parentheses, we're going to do like we did above, okay? And it should end up being the same because it's still x plus 2. But let's go through SOFAs. So we're going to use SOFAs. Okay, so we're going to square the first. We're going to use the opposite sign. So it was a plus, now we have minus. We're going to do the first times the last. So 2 times x, 2x. We're going to always add. And then we are going to square the last. So 2 squared is 4. Don't forget to drop your 5x. And those are the 3 factors. So the factors are 5x, x plus 2, x squared, minus 2x plus 4. Example 3. Example 3, I think you should pause the video, try on your own, and then turn it back on and check it. All right? Okay. First, look for a GCD. X cubed and 27 don't share anything, so I can skip that step. Step 2, we're going to rewrite as something cubed. Okay, x cubed is already done for me. 27 is really 3 cubed. So 3 times 3 times 3 would be 27. Okay, now we have a subtraction, but it's going to work the same way as our addition. It's still using SOFAs, so you should be okay. Remember, the very first factor, though, is going to be drop your cubes, so x minus 3. Okay, now jump into SOFAs. We're going to square the first. So x squared. We're going to use the opposite sign. So our minus turns to plus. We are going to do the first times the last. So x times 3 is 3x. We are going to do, we're going to always add. Plus. And then we're going to square the last. 3 squared is 9. So my 2 factors are x minus 3 and x squared plus 3x plus 9. Example 4. We just have 5. Okay? Example 4 looks a little different, but we'll go with it. Okay. First, is there a GCD? Okay, well, if I look at 2x5 and 16x2, I notice that they both share a 2 and 2 x's, so x squared. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. We don't have to write that. Well, we will. x5 divided by x2 is x3. Because remember, when you divide exponents, they subtract. Minus 16 divided by 2 is 8. X squared divided by x squared, no x's left. Okay, now I realize my 1 isn't necessary, and now I can factor what's left over. So the 2x squared is just going to stay and end up in my answer, but then I can factor x cubed minus 8. So step 2, we need to take that, and we need to rewrite as something cubed, okay? At this point, I would pause the video, try number 4, and then turn it back on. So x cubed is already rewritten for me, but 8 is really 2 cubed. All right, then we're going to drop the cube. So I'm going to drop this first factor we already found. I'm going to drop the cubes, so x minus 2, and then I'm going to find the rest using SOFAs. So we're going to square the first. So x squared. We're going to use the opposite sign. So the minus becomes plus. We're going to do the first times the last. X times 2 is 2x. Always add. And then square the last. 4. So my three factors, 2x5 minus 16x squared, can be broken down into 2x squared, x minus 2, x squared plus 2x plus 4. All right, last example. First, GCD. Oops. Is there a greatest common divisor? Is there something that can be taken out of all your parts? 8 and 125 don't have anything in common. So, no, there's nothing I can take out of all of those parts. Second, we're going to rewrite everything as something cubed. Okay, the x cubed is done for me, but the 8 is not. So I need to rewrite the 8 and the 125 as something cubed. So really we have 8, we already know is 2 cubed. So it's 2 cubed, x cubed, minus 125 is really 5 cubed. So rewrite all of your parts as something cubed, okay? Then I'm going to drop the cubes for my first set of parentheses. So I have 2x minus 5. Then my second set of parentheses, I'm going to build using sofas. So we are going to square the first. The whole first, okay? 2x. Well, 2 squared is 4x squared. Okay, then we're going to use the opposite sign. So the minus becomes plus. Then we are going to do the first term times the last term. If I do 2x times 5, 2 times 5 is 10x. Okay, then we're going to always add. And then we're going to, so always add. And then we're going to square the last. So 5 squared is 25. Okay, so your two factors are 2x minus 5 and 4x squared plus 10x plus 25. And that's it.